Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Broyans Farm. Today is Tuesday, so that means we're going to be going to the hometown farmers market tomorrow, and we got to start getting the truck loaded. Before we can start that though, we need to get everything watered and let it dry off, at least somewhat. That way, all of the nice blossoms, flowers, petals, whatever you want to call it, leaves, does not rot because there's too much water sitting on it. And so that's what I'm going to go through now, get everything watered that needs it, and maybe even fertilize some things along the way. I was in the process of watering, and Dad told me he wanted to start getting these strawberries irrigated. If you want to see me setting up this whole process, check out my last video. It's all there. And so now finally we're going to put it all to use. This is the first time we're using all this stuff this year, so I want to make sure everything is correct. The only problem is this is very tight. I'm going to have to get both hands on it. Dad's down at the farm right now getting the irrigation pump started. That's gonna take a little while to get all that line filled up with water up until this point. I just cracked my back flush valve because if there's anything bad in here, which I'm pretty sure we washed it or back flushed it last year, but just in case, I'm gonna do it again. And then once I think everything's clean, I'll open this valve and close this one, and then I can start running my water to the field. We're gonna water first, just with some regular water, to make sure that there's no leaks underneath the ground. And how we'll check that is we'll go to each end of each row and see if the drip tape is blown up. If it's blown up, that means we have water pressure, there's no cuts in the line, and we're good to go. If for some reason it's deflated, it most likely means a mouse chewed it and we gotta find that leak, get it patched up, and then run the system again. And then once everything is good, we can get our fertilizer, get this line dropped in there, and start pumping fertilizer onto the berries. Because like I said, these are doing absolutely beautiful, but I just want to really give them a boost of energy, which is obviously the fertilizer. And then hopefully you won't even see a gap between each berry. That's kind of what we're going for here. Like obviously the plants are nice, they're healthy, there's loads of blossoms, going to be lots of strawberries, but the plant is just a little bit small. I don't know if at this point the fertilizer will actually make the berries grow bigger in size. I think, you know, once they're established like that, they're going to be what they're going to be. But who knows? If anything, it's definitely not going to hurt them. It's only going to make them better. So I'm sitting here waiting for Dad, and he's waiting for my phone call. I'm wondering what's taking so long, and I guess that's the reason. But he, which I don't know if it's a good idea, wants me to pull this sucker out and let it sit here until that air bleeds out. Because like I said, it's drained completely for, I don't know, 500 yards at least underneath the ground. And so he doesn't want to be pushing all that air then through the sand filters and, you know, then going to the field. So he's like, well, as soon as you think you better get it on there, he's like, put it on. Actually, I can feel it bleeding right now. There's a bunch of air coming out. So I'm definitely not going to cut it too close, because once this thing starts putting water out, there ain't no way I am getting this thing on there, even though it goes in very simply. So we'll see here. I'm hoping I don't screw up. At least if I do screw up, I'll get it on video. Pretty breezy. See that dandelion blowing. One other thing I wasn't really thinking about was making sure all of my clamps were on there nice and tight. Like that was kind of loose. We don't need that coming off. It looks like there's water running through it, but that's all just air at the moment, but I'm not cutting it any closer than that. You can hear the air bleeding out of the tops here. Once the water starts squirting out, it means you got good pressure, and I can close them back up then. And I think we want to run it around 30 to 40 PSI, but I'll double check that in a little bit here. It's like a jet engine taking off here. I guess maybe I did jump the gun. Maybe I didn't need to have it on there so quick, but I think having that back flush valve line open really helps. All right, here comes the water. I don't want to like that at all. If I kick that sideways a little bit. I don't know. I guess it's got something. I don't like that. I don't know what else to do with it though. You can see the wires are starting to spit out now. Not this one. Try to get everything braced up here. So now we got good pressure to the sand filters. You can see there and there. And I got full flow coming out my back flush line, which just looks like nice clear water. Now I'm gonna back flush. Right now I'm back flushing this guy. So I will now turn this guy on and this guy sideways. And now I'm back flushing this one, which is gonna take a couple seconds. And then once that's good to go, I'll start running my water to the field. So we've got water pressure coming to the field now. And for some reason before we had these lines shut off, so I'm gonna turn these back on. So hopefully we can fertilize the whole field at once. My pressure out here is around 8 right now, which isn't bad at all. It actually was just like 12, but when I started opening these up, it went down. This valve also isn't open all the way. Okay. All right. Not really any leakage, which is good. So everything's good out here. It's actually jumping up to around 15 now, if you can see that, which isn't bad because we have long stretches here. So we want it to be at least 12. That way, by the time we get to the other end, it might be between 6 and 8. Everything's good, full pressure. I don't see any leaks here, which I didn't really expect to. But now it's gonna be the real test when I go to the other end and see if the drip line's blown up. Here at the close side, I can see this line right here, pumped up, awesome. I'm not even quite sure what, here it is. That guy's real good. Gotta check every single one. Good. Good. This last one here definitely isn't as firm. It's still pumped up and it's still emitting water, which is what we want. But it's not as pumped up as what this guy is and what some of the other ones were. Could be one small leak in there, but I think as long as we got pressure, that's really all I'm worried about. At least get that fertilizer on. I don't want to go screwing with a lot. At least not now. Not at this point. So I just got around here to the other side. This is actually the first time I've been out to this end in months. So I've been saying that I don't think there's been any deer trouble, but this is going to be the real test to see. And I really don't see any. Nope, that's a runner coming out. Wow. It's amazing what this fence has done. If you're in a very, very high populated area with deer, you might need to make a higher fence with more strands, something of that sort. But because we are around a lot of farm ground and there's plenty of other things for them to eat besides strawberries, once they have this little barrier they have to cross, usually they don't cross it because they'll just go somewhere else. But that may not be the case in your area. But I highly recommend, if you're in a situation like we are, with other food around besides your strawberries, the fence is the way to go. Absolutely changed like night and day. Now, I don't expect these to have quite as much pressure. Yeah, that's not quite as inflated, just because this run is so much longer. Oh boy, that guy isn't pumped up at all. So that's problem number one. Let's check this row. This guy is pumped, so we're good there. This one definitely has a leak somewhere. I'll have to go get a splice and see if I can find it. Usually you can hear underneath the plastic, but that's one. Let's see how the rest are. Good, like I said, not real strong, but it is out here. Good. Okay, this row is deflated as well. That's two. I have this one, and I think the second one before the end. Ah, this one's deflated too. This guy looks deflated as well. Son of a gun. Oh man. I know it's the mice. This one looks fun. Oh my. No, nothing in that one either. So I don't know, like these last 6 rows, there ain't nothing. I don't know if for some reason it just didn't pressurize yet, which I'm praying, or if it's a big mice problem. The only thing I can really do at this point is take a walk out through. Sometimes you can actually hear it spraying underneath the plastic. And if that doesn't work, then I'm gonna have to go through different points throughout the row, cut a hole in the plastic and just see if it's pressurized there or if there's water coming out until I find where that bad leak is, because it's gotta be pretty darn bad to have no pressure at all. So far I'm seeing or hearing no problems. Uh-oh. Okay, I hear a problem here. Can you hear that? And right here's a mouse nest. Go figure. So I just dug it out and you can see there all the holes, probably 3 or 4 different ones, which isn't horrible, to be quite honest. There must be holes other places to where I wouldn't have any pressure at the other end at all. But at least I know now I have pressure up until this point, so that means from here back is where that problem is, which is still a pretty good chunk. All of my fittings are on, meaning that all my lines should be pressurized. So I'm just gonna hope that maybe because it's so long, it didn't, you know, get all the way out there yet. And if I get back there and they're still deflated, that means I'm gonna have to go down, grab a bunch of splices and just start going through, and hopefully I can find all the main holes. But we'll see here in a little bit. Even though we are having some problems, which is weeds here and there, very minor. Let's see if we can get that out of there. Yep. Pop it back in. Very proud of the way this field is compared to the last like 3 years we've been doing berries. I mean, usually you look out through and you see huge missing patches of berries, weeds coming up, just an absolute mess. And not only did it take a lot of time, effort, and money to get all the ground prepped by the bare roots and then plant every single one by hand, but also, you know, then you have mortality over the winter and they die. Now at least we did buy plugs. We can do that with a machine, still by hand, but we're using a machine or riding on a machine. And it did cost more money, that is for darn sure. I think about 2 or 3 times what a bare root plant costs. But I mean, just look at the turnout. Okay, so things are looking up here. This is now pumped up, which wasn't pumped up earlier. You can actually see the pinholes right there that the mice have chewed in it, but we do have pressure, which is good. Here, we still do not have pressure, so that's not good. Let's see what the other rows are like. This one has pressure, and I don't expect a lot of pressure. That has pressure, not a lot of pressure. Yep, okay, so way, way better. I think only one row now that doesn't have pressure. All right, so Sammy's here to help me fix these mouse holes. She's gonna jump over this fence.
Come on.
Never seen her jump in my life, so this will be exciting. Come on.
I'm scared.
All right, if you're not scared, just unhook the fence.
Hold on, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Wow. Did you hit it? It's
No.
jiggling.
No. I think
Right,
you
you
did.
take this. Sammy actually did really good. She found the first one. I was just walking through, not even noticing the absolute lake that's out here in the middle. And she's like, well, this is probably where it's at. So then we're trying to figure out where it actually is. And then she found this hole, which is where it's just pouring out of. So then obviously I started digging. And right here, you can hear it spraying out of there. Bad, real bad. So we're gonna get that fixed up right away. Right, Daisy? I mean, look at that. Look at that. So I just cut the bad part out, which was this right here. And now I'm gonna replace it, or I'm gonna fix it. I think I got it all. With what we call a splice. This thing right here. Put one side on this, and then I'll tighten down this ring, and that should make it airtight. All right, so I'll make sure this ring is all the way back. Slip that on there. It's hard because I don't have a lot of wiggle room. I think I got on there as far as I can. And now I'll take that, tighten it on, tight as I possibly can. And I'll do the same to this side. Boom. Turn that ring. I actually probably should have had you stay down there, Sammy. And then I'll really crank them both down as tight as I can. Fixed. And then what we'll do is we bring this orange marking paint, and I'm probably just gonna paint the post, to be quite honest. Meaning that that's the spot where we had to replace it in case something else goes wrong. She's going to turn that back on, and I'm gonna wait here to make sure everything is secured. It's a shame I had to make a hole, you know what I mean, to fix that, because now a weed's gonna grow up in there. What I'm gonna probably do is just grab a bunch of straw and tuck it in there, maybe some rocks. That's about all I can do, but it's gotta get fixed, so there's really no other option. So we just finished up. There was one hole in this row, one or two over there, and I think one at the other end. So around between 3 and 5 altogether. Some were a lot worse than others. But now we have pressure everywhere, and we can start fertilizing that weed. Okay, so everything is up and running now. The water has obviously been running, so we could check the line, but we got the fertilizer up here and it is now running through. Like I said before, it's really simple. All I did was open this little valve and then close this. So this forces water then up through here, pulling the fertilizer out of that big jug and now forcing it through the line. And then when I close this, I can adjust how many gallon per hour that it's gonna suck through. So I have it running around like between 10 and 15, and that's a 15-gallon jug, so it's gonna take around an hour, which is exactly what we want. And then we have a bucket of clean water here just to run through at the very end, and then we'll shut it down. You don't wanna water a lot after you run the fertilizer through. You're just gonna dilute it and basically reversing everything you just did. So we'll be up here, I would say, again in about a half hour. We'll get this thing shut down, and then they should be good for the season. I don't think we'll fertilize again, but I gotta talk to Dad about that. Alrighty, so we just finished up, pulled my injector back out, got the line hook back together, shut off the main valve. That way it can't, you know, go back into the sand filters. And I think that's just about it. Gonna coil some of my hoses up, get that red lay flat out of there, and I can go back to loading. We just about finished loading the truck for market. Now we come out here to the farm market, and we're getting this restocked again. Mostly with a bunch of hangers. Then there's some sunflowers and patience, stuff like that. I love these baskets. Obviously, we brought a lot of stuff out here to the farm market, but then we also brought some stuff back, or at least loaded it up here in the truck, because we're gonna take not only the white truck, but this yellow van to market tomorrow. We brought 50 pots from inside, just because these are getting pretty big. These are actually some of the biggest tomatoes that I've ever seen us grow, and they're beautiful, but it's just time to get them sold. We brought these out a long time ago just because we were getting too full in the greenhouses back home, but now it's time to really get them sold, along with some of our vine crops. These grow really fast. Mom brought like 2 flats out of each, and I thought, well, instead of letting them get big and dry up and get yellow leaves, we'll just take and sell them while they're beautiful, and then we'll bring her out some new fresh ones. That's where I'm calling it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.